Hello everybody, welcome to Truth Me Free. My name is Nathan Wheeler and this is video number 1 of my testimonial. I am so grateful for your subscriptions. I am super grateful for your viewership and all the comments that you have left on my videos so far. If this is your first time visiting the Truth Me Free channel, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope that you will spend the time to watch the entire series and every video in order. Do not skip around, please. Do not fast forward. Do not stop halfway through a video. I will be held accountable when I stand before my Creator, the one who created all things and gave me the life that I have. I will be held accountable because He is the one who literally told me to make these videos. He's the one who sent me back to life after I died and told me to do this. So I am very sensitive to the words that are coming out of my mouth in the way that I am presenting this information, which I know is both sensitive and controversial. Okay, so don't think I'm not sensitive to that. Quickly, I want to just give a little bit of an introduction to this channel before I start the entire series, which I'm calling my testimonial. This is video number 1, the oath God made with me. Truth Me Free, where does the name come from? What does it mean? Let's address that since I have not put that in any video yet. Truth Me Free comes from the passage in the Bible that says, "Ye shall know the truth, and it shall set you free." We live in the information age, the age of knowledge, where all the world's vast wealth of knowledge is accessible at our fingertips at any moment that we want it. This is a wonderful thing. It is a great thing, but it also is extremely dangerous because if it doesn't come with wisdom, discernment, and understanding, it is the perfect breeding ground for a disease that I call confusion. Confusion binds us. It gives us doubt, and doubt stops us from doing the things that we need to do. When we are in doubt, we will not choose the path that is designed for us. We will not know what we are called to do, and that hinders our life. That makes our life more empty. That makes our joy go away, and it makes us frustrated as beings, spiritual beings, human beings, intellectual beings, and this is a bad thing. Confusion is very bad, and it is running rampant through the human race right now because we're in the information age without those 3 elements I mentioned. We can get truth in almost any category of knowledge that we can possibly think up of. Any form of science, any form of spiritual belief, any religion, any spiritual practice, there's truth in everything. And that has given birth to one of the greatest lies in the human race ever. And that lie is that whatever is true for you is true. That is a lie, guys. There is a truth that doesn't need us to believe in it. Truth doesn't need the human approval for it to be in the category of, yes, you are the truth. We have given you the medal of truth and therefore you are now truth. It doesn't work that way. Truth is what it is. For a lot of years, we thought the smallest thing in the universe was an atom. Remember that? Then we learned that's not the case. There is a truth out there. And my goal with Truth Me Free is to fulfill the promise that God gave the human race, which is that you will know what is true. You will know that what you know is true, and you'll be confident in it. And in that confidence, you will move and behave and spiritually and mentally be free. And in that freedom, you will be as God designed you to be and be able to do what God has designed you to do, and that is to have free choice. If confusion is in your heart or in your mind, you are not as God has designed you to be. There is a saying that God is not a God of confusion. And I am hell-bent to destroy the disease of confusion. Well, I'm talking very specifically in regards to life, death, God, and the hereafter. And that is what my testimony is about. Why should you listen to me? As of right now, you know nothing about me. You don't know where I come from. You don't know why when I make statements, and I'm confident about the statements I'm making, you don't know why I'm doing this. You don't know where I got my information. So you need to hear my testimonial. That's why I have to tell you my story, because it will show you, it will prove to you that God has dragged me through the mud, uphill both ways through the snow, put me in the fire, and refined the living daylights out of me. And he has put me through the ringer. And he has even killed me and brought me back to life so that I could bring to you a PhD in life, death, supernatural, and the spiritual here and ever after. Okay? So, I'm not asking you to believe me now. All I'm asking you to do is stay tuned. Watch my entire testimonial series. When I say testimonial, I don't mean the day I became a Christian and God saved me and I knew who God was. I'm not talking about just that. I'm talking about every spiritual experience I ever had, every miracle I ever encountered, every religion I ever participated and studied and practiced. I'm talking about the whole gamut of my life. And hopefully it will be entertaining. I'm not going to try to spice it up. I'm not going to add any additives or entertainment value to it. But I think that just my life in general is so crazy and so hard to believe that you won't be able to help but be entertained by it. It is so hard to digest the story you're about to hear. And I'm stating that because I want you to know that I acknowledge it. I lived it and I couldn't digest it. I lived it and it took me dying, going to paradise, being shown heaven, and having angels yell at me and say, you have had this experience, you have had that experience, you know these things, God has spoken to you, you've seen God, you've been saved from drowning by angels, you have seen the world with different eyes, and you doubt? You doubt these things? How could you doubt? Now we had to bring you up into heaven, show you paradise, show you what heaven is so that you would not doubt. You need to go back to life, and you need to tell people all the things that God has allowed you to experience throughout the course of your life. And so that's what I'm doing. That's my PhD. God dragged me through experience. The information I have is first-hand information that happened to me. I'm not going to regurgitate things to you that I learned from somebody else and claim it as my own. I'm going to tell you the things that I went through, the things that I experienced, and I believe that it will speak to you. I believe that in totality, my story will speak to you in a way, and I believe that each one of my scenarios, depending on who you are, might speak to you. So that being said, I also want to state one more thing before we enter into this video series. There, of course, are going to be haters out there for anybody who ever makes any YouTube video. And God bless you haters, because what you actually do is you challenge and you refine and you help actually me to grow, because you bring more awareness and you bring more sensitivity of the things that are coming out of my mouth. I have to be even more aware of it. So I thank you for being a hater, believe it or not. You make me a better person and a better speaker of what I'm trying to communicate here. And I know I'm not all that great, but I'm trying my best, okay? My point is, let me put it to this way. Let me present you a scenario, and then we'll jump into my story. Imagine you are my boss, and you stumble across this video, this channel. It's Friday. You're at home, type on the computer, and all of a sudden you see a picture of one of your employees on that right column on a video channel like YouTube or something like that. And you're like, what is that? And you click on it, and you come across this video right here. At the end of this video, I want you to ask yourself, would you continue to give this guy employment come Monday? What if you were one of my employees, because I own a company? Would you want to continue to work for this guy? Would you want to put your financial future, your employment stability in this guy? If you found out that you've been buying a product that I create, that my business creates and sells, would you, after you watch this video, stop buying that product? These three things are the things I am completely aware of might actually become realities. This is why, even though God told me to create this channel in 2007, I never made a single video. Because I understand how I look. I understand how crazy and absolutely out of my mind I sound. I get it. You don't have to try to tell me. I'm aware of it. That's why I fought this with every ounce of my spirit. And that is why God had to kill me, bring me up, and say, it's real, go back to work. The fact that you're watching this video, the fact that it is on the World Wide Web, let that be the first testimonial of all. Why would I do this to myself? Why would I put my career, my business, and everything I have spent my entire life working for in jeopardy? It could only be that I literally believe that what I have experienced in every one of the stories you're about to hear, and in the death experience I had when I went to the other side and came back, it has to be that I know that they are real. Not I hope, not I think, but I know they're real. Otherwise, there is no reason why I would put myself in a situation like I am putting myself in by posting these videos. So now that you know that, now that you're aware that I'm aware of this, just keep that in mind as you're watching these videos and as I say things that sound like complete fantasy. Okay? Without further ado, let's jump on in. So, the first story I want to tell you is the reason for the title of this particular first kickoff video. It is the single most important event of my life. It happened when I was 4 years old. Now, prior to this event, you need to understand that I had already a horrific fear of dying. And I'll explain to you why. I could already sense, or I could already feel at this young age, my mortality, the fullness of my mortality. And it freaked the daylights out of me. I mean, I was completely loony, crazy, couldn't stop or think about anything else but this. And of course, when nighttime came around and I was laying down to sleep and the darkness set in, it only freaked me out more. Not because of boogeyman and monsters and things like that, but because it just reminded me of the void that I knew was just beyond my arm's reach. I'm going to say that sentence again because you probably think I was just being metaphorical, but later on in videos you're going to understand this sentence. When I was 3 years old, I understood that just beyond my arm's reach was a void of nothingness. Absolute nothing. I understood that when I died, I was going to basically, like water in a boiling pot, eventually just turn into a vapor and vaporize and be gone as though I never existed at all. I comprehended this. I could feel it. I could see this void in my mind's eye. I could feel death every time I thought of it. Just the void of nothingness. I could feel it. And if you or anybody has ever just meditated on your own mortality and thought about the everlasting void of nothing and death, if that is what you pictured, you know the level of fear I'm talking about. And I have a feeling that somebody watching this video has had that experience. And I have a feeling that my video is going to speak to you in huge ways. So thank you for watching. But to continue my story, based upon this fear that consumed my life already at 3 years old, I prayed every single night a very specific prayer. And that was this. Please God, I pray that if I'm a good enough boy that you will grant me one wish. And that one wish will be that I never die. That I live forever because I do not believe in heaven and I do not believe in hell because I feel the nothing of death just waiting for me. And I am scared and I don't want to die. So please, if I'm a good enough boy, please allow me to have that one wish. And that one wish is to live forever. Amen. I said that every night. And if you think I will ever forget that prayer, you're out of your mind. So I could never forget these moments. I never will. They were the foundation of everything I did, everything I saw, the motivation for how I perceived the entire world. Then one day I came to a crossroad, the most important crossroad of my entire life. The monumental day that changed Nathan Wheeler forever. I was sitting in church at this point, and the pastor asked us to rise, the congregation to rise, because it was the end of the church service, and we always sang a song as the church service ended, and then the pastors would leave, and the altar boys would do their thing, and so on and so forth. It was that song. So he asked everybody to rise, and he opened the song, and he said John 3:16, which goes like this if you don't know it. For God so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whomever shall believe in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. Now, the pastor went on to explain that God's Son had to die for us to be saved. So the point of the pastor saying this. The point of the person who wrote this particular sentence in the Bible, they wrote it so that the person listening would go, wow, thank you, God, for loving me that much. Thank you, God, for caring about me so much that you would demonstrate your love on that epic level and save me, that I am saved by your grace, by your love. Okay, that's the point of the passage. But I'm 4 freaking years old, and I'm terrified of death. So can you figure out what I heard? I heard this. God's son died. Wait, what? God's son died? So you're telling me that God's own son wasn't allowed to live forever? And my mom always used to make a joke, honey, you're no angel. So I'm no angel. I'm not the son of God. And he didn't let his own son live forever. There's no way he's going to allow me to live forever. That was the light bulb that went on. Bing! And then all of a sudden lightning struck. Dong! And then I hit the ground. Why? Because I got it. I realize now that all my prayers were in total vain. I knew that nothing I could do. No, I couldn't. It didn't matter how good of a boy I was going to be. I was going to die, and my dad couldn't save me. The pastor couldn't save me. There was nowhere I could run. There was nowhere I could hide. There was nothing I could do ever at any time, or anything or anyone could do for me. I was going to die. I was going to taste death. I was going to know what it was, no matter what. And I hit the deck. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I couldn't even think a thought. I was an absolute purest form of petrified state. I was devastated to the definition of the word. I was staring up at the ceiling of the church, and I couldn't breathe. And I heard God's voice say to me, Nathan, do you want everybody here to know what you know right now and experience what you're experiencing? I couldn't answer him, so I answered him in my head. No. No way. No way do I want anybody to ever feel or experience what I am right now. And he replied back to me, and he said, then get up, or they'll figure it out. Well, I couldn't get up. I tried. I couldn't even freaking breathe still. And the next thing that happened, this is the only way I could describe it, and trust me, I already know how I sound, okay? I get it. But let's move on. Just pretend here with me that I am telling you the truth, because I am. So the next thing that happened was I felt like God's hand moved into my chest cavity. It just filled up my whole chest cavity, and I feel like he picked me up and he stood me to my feet. And he began to breathe my lungs for me, so that like I was at least functioning like a human being again. And I grabbed the podium or the pew in front of me, like the back of the bench that's in front of me, because it was one of those chairs, and I'm holding on for dear life, just trying not to fall back down on the ground. I'm still absolutely petrified. I would be on the ground still if I didn't get lifted up. And my dad's sitting there going, why were you on the ground? What's wrong with you? What were you doing on the ground? Well, my dad let me bring in these little Hot Wheel cars, and he allowed me to just, play with them because I was bored out of my mind. I hated church so much. Oh my God, I hated it. So he allowed me to bring in these cars to entertain myself and not be a bad kid. So I just told him I was on the ground looking for the cars. Of course, he knew I was lying because when he looked at me, I was staring up at the ceiling. I wasn't looking for my cars on the freaking ceiling. But he just blew it off. He didn't say anything. So there I am, completely devastated. The church service comes to an end, and I cut the pastor off at the path as he's walking out the door. It's just me and him in the sanctuary, and I stop him and I say, I'd like to ask you a question. And he says, sure. And he got down on one knee, eye level with me, and I said, is there anybody in the Bible who didn't die? Is there anybody in history who has never died? And it was like God had put that question on my heart. If you've read the Bible, you know the answer to that question. But if you haven't read the Bible, the answer is yes, there are 2 people in the Bible who have never died. They did not die. God considered them to be friends, and he called them up into heaven. They never experienced death. Okay? I didn't know that, obviously. I was 4 years old. I'd gone to maybe 20 Sunday school classes at the most by this point of my life. I knew Jesus, I knew Moses, I knew Abraham, I knew this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. That was the extent of my Christianity and my understanding of the Bible at that point. So I go to the pastor and I ask him this question because it was put on my heart to ask him this. And the pastor looks me square in the eyes, and this is what he says. No, Nathan, everybody dies. Everybody has to die. And I don't know if he said anything after that. That was enough for me. I zoned out again. I should have hit the ground again, but I didn't want him to know what I was understanding, because I didn't want him to understand it and then fall to the ground, and then we're both laying there unable to move. So I just took all the energy I could muster up, and I was like, and I walked away, and I headed towards the pew or the pulpit where the stairs led up to the pulpit. And he walked outside and he started doing the handshake thing at the door. You know how they leave and then they shake hands? My church did that. I don't know if yours do, but my church did that when I was a kid. And so I'm sitting there at the stairs by myself, and I was coming to grips with the idea, with the understanding that one day I am going to die. There's nothing I can do about it, and now I have to make a choice. How am I going to live the rest of my life? Well, since I didn't believe in heaven or hell, I thought heaven or hell was the same thing as the North Pole. I thought Jesus was the same thing as Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. You know, I never really believed in heaven or hell. I never believed in North Pole and Santa Claus or Easter Bunny. My older brother had a lot to do with the Santa Claus and Easter Bunny thing. Thanks, bud. And so I didn't know if Jesus was the same. I didn't know if it was just this character that parents made up, that adults made up to try to make kids have a better understanding or to be morally right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know if it was a fantasy thing to just install moral, or if it was a legit thing. I don't know. They lied so good about Santa Claus and the North Pole. How can I believe them about heaven and hell and Jesus? Do you get what I'm saying? This was how I was thinking at this moment. So this was what I said to God. I said, God, I am never going to believe what any adult ever tells me about you, about life, about death, about what happens to us when we die, about heaven or hell. But I'm going to spend every waking hour of my life, everything that I can find out, every religion, every spiritual practice, I'm going to learn about it the best I can. And I'm going to find the truth about life, death, heaven, hell, and you. And when I find that truth, I'm going to share it with the world. See where this is going? Huh? And then I ended with this, though. This is pretty important. I ended with, but I'm going to study Christianity last. Because at this young age, I had already experienced things with Christianity that I didn't like. I already experienced the hypocrisy of Christians, or people who claim to be Christians who are going to our church. And I already felt the emptiness of the church. Like, one of the things I didn't understand was, I already heard God my whole life. I heard him all the time. I had conversations with him all the time. Yeah, I know how that sounds. Get over it. Let's move on. So, here I am, I have God with me all the time, and then I'm told that when we're at church, that's where we feel the presence of God, that's where we come in the presence of God, and I'm like, when I got to church, I felt like it was empty. I felt like God wasn't happy with what was going on in this church. Now, if you're a churchgoer and you're a Christian, don't get all, upset with me here. I'm telling you my experience. I already had God with me all the time. I went to church and I didn't feel an abundance more of God. I felt an ickiness. I felt a grossness. That's the only way I can describe it. That was my experience. You can't be mad at me for that. And I have a feeling that a couple of other people watching this, maybe one or two in this entire world of 7 billion people, maybe have had the same experience I did. I don't know, but maybe one or two of you did. If you did, let me know. Leave a comment. So, this was my experience. So I vowed that I would study Christianity last because I didn't want to be influenced by what I was being brought up in. I didn't want to be influenced by the people around me. I wanted to know the truth, whether it was good, bad, ugly, or pretty, or right, or wrong, or I liked it, or I didn't like it. I wanted to know the truth because my hope was that if I knew the truth beyond the shadow of a doubt, I would be able to cope with this fact that I was going to die. So, when you take in that motivation, you can understand how I became a very weird kid, how I was extremely motivated. To me, it was a life and death situation I was living every day. And that was the moment that changed my entire life. So there you have it. That is the beginning. In the next video, you're going to hear the story about the first time I physically saw God. I was 5 years old. You're going to hear about the promise that he spoke over me, the blessing he spoke over me. You're going to hear about the directions he gave me on how to achieve this blessing he spoke over me, or this job he had given me for the purpose of my life. And you're also going to hear about the time that an angel saved me from drowning. That's in the next video. So I hope that you'll stay tuned and watch. And if you guys think that what you're hearing now is crazy and wacky, Whew, wait till I get older. We're only at 5 or 6 years old. This was 4 years old. Wait till I get to 17, 19 years old. That area, you're going to think I'm really nuts. Thank you guys for watching. Please leave your comments. Please subscribe. I want you to understand that the reason I'm making this video is because God really did tell me to make this channel. He really did tell me to make my testimonial. So I don't know how this is going to be responded to. I don't know what kind of result is going to come from this. That's not the point. The point is I'm just supposed to do my part, and that is tell you what has happened to me. Because in that story, something is going to speak to you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this video. You are watching this by God's divine appointment. Your eyes have graced this because you either searched the right thing and God brought it to your attention, it was an ad on the side of your page, somebody sent you the link, whatever it was, God brought you to this video. And I believe that with everything in me. I believe that that's the reason why I'm still alive. The doctors don't know what's wrong with my heart still. The pacemaker keeps me alive. I could go at any moment. And I'm not saying that for dramatic effect. I'm saying that because why else am I still here? Why did I come back without any medical aid? Why did I come back without any modern science to help me? I really believe an angel told me to come back. I really believe that these videos are divine. It's not about me. I pray that God's Spirit works through these videos and that you are touched by them and that you feel God's presence and you feel and know that everything I'm saying is true and that it would speak to you and touch your life and open your heart and open your mind, and that you will do exactly as this channel is praying will happen. You will know the truth and it will set you free. My name is Nathan Wheeler. Thank you for watching. Please watch the rest of this series in order all the way through. God bless.